We're live. Melbourne, Oz. So should I bring the cameras in at three? Or give it a bit of time?
No.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna fade it over to you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Woodworking Wisdom Workshops here in Axminster. Today we're in my workshop, in the machinery workshop. As you can see, we've got all this lovely big machinery around us. And the centre point of my workshop, as with a lot of workshops, is your table saw. And today we're going to look at my table saw, a table saw that I use regularly in here. One of my favourites, gotta say, the AT254TS, the Dado saw, as it's called. Now, a lovely table saw, very substantial, solid, but more than just a table saw, really. It will cut grooves and channels, rebates, help, also cut tenons, half lap joints, and also we've turned, which we'll look at later, we've turned the large, flat, right-hand extension table into a router table for you as well. So, although it looks like quite a large bit of kit, and it is, you need a fair bit of size to operate this correctly. It does a lot for you and could actually save space in the workshop thinking about it. So let's look at that kind of over this bit first. This area on your table saw quite often goes to waste. Yes, it's good because you can bring the fence all the way over. If you're cutting wide panels, it gives you good support. However, most of the time on a table saw, you're using the fence in this sort of area, fairly close to the blade. Okay, and this area here goes to waste a little bit. You might stick your cup of coffee on it, eat your dinner at it. So we decided to do something with it and make more of it. Now you can see these tracks through here. These are standard 19mm tracks, and they're designed to take a router fence. Yes, a standard router fence. And you can see just here, we've got a router table insert. And you can just about see down in that hole a router cutter, because I've got a DeWalt router mounted underneath this, this plate, so I can use this area as a router table. Therefore, I don't need a router table, saving space in my workshop. Got to be worth a look. Now, something that's important with all table saws, especially kind of a cabinet makers, a cabinet saw like this, it's a solid tabletop, yes, cast iron, a nice solid fence as well, which glides. I mean, this is a kind of super smooth transition across the table, but also, importantly, locks down, move that there, locks down extremely solid. Really, really rigid. It doesn't lock at the back end. I don't feel it needs to. If it's strong enough in this area here, that's the important thing. That's the area that you're pushing against. And it's what's called a T-style fence. So you've got a big steel T, in effect, running on a steel track here. Beautifully smooth, as I said. And of course, it's got the sub fence, which I really like using in a variety of different ways, a couple of which we'll use today. So really putting good use to that extension table. And we'll have a look at the kind of router fence a bit later on. It's just a good solid table saw. 16 amp supply, because it's quite powerful. It's got 3 horsepower, plenty of grunt, plenty of power. You've got some accessories you can buy for it as well if you want one. Beautiful, smooth sliding table, which will actually give you 4 foot in front of the blade if you needed it. If you want to cross-cut some sheets, standard 8x4s. I mean, it's not going to handle 8x4s that easily because it's not a panel saw. It's not got that massive spread a proper panel saw has. But if you've got, you've taken your handheld circular saw to it and sized that sheet down to a manageable chunk, you can drop your sheet on there and get a 4 foot stroke should you need. It's smooth and precise, along with this UJK style fence as well. It's a dream. Also, actually included as standard is a rear takeoff table. This bit here. So you can slide on through with your material and not drop off the back of the table before you finish your cut. That's a standard bit of kit comes out of the box. Sliding tables are extra. Oh, what I've done, I've made a little sanding station here. You can see my little beauty of a Merkur sander here. This is my little sanding station, but also doubles up as an extra support table because it's all the same level here. We've also got, as you can see, this massive overhead guard as well. Now, it's guarding and extraction. Yes, the guard can come up and down to be altered depending on what material thickness we're doing or what cut we're doing. But also, all the way down this tube here is a dust extraction pipe. All right? We've got extraction which hooks up this end, and the pipe itself, the steel pipe, is extracted. All right? Tube here, into the guard, extracting from the guard as well as extracting from the underneath of the machine. You can just about see the hose coming in there. There we go. Extracting from the underside of the cabinet as well. And inside that cabinet, there's a slight slope to make sure all dust goes down towards that 4-inch outlet. This guard is particularly important if you want to do the whole dado thing. Cutting grooves, cutting channels on your table saw, which a lot of people think is illegal. It's not illegal. What you do in your own workshop is entirely up to you. But to do those cuts, you've got to take the guard off. You've got to take the regular guard off. Now, this is the regular guard, which comes on the machine. All right, not too dissimilar to any other guard on a table saw mounted to the riving knife. And to do those grooves, those passing over the top of the saw blade, you've got to take the riving knife off. You don't need a riving knife to do a groove on a table saw because there's no closing of a slot on the back of the blade. But if you're removing a riving knife and you have this, you've got no guarding. And if anything should eject up towards you, you've got no protection. So you should have some sort of guarding here. The whole idea is a big thing. A couple of little storage hooks on the back of the table saw here as well to keep your bits and bobs, which is nice. So what is a dado then? Well, a dado is kind of American terminology, really. We know dado as dado rail, that kind of flat back piece of cornice that you used to stick on around your lounge in the 80s that you thought was really cool and looked really nice. I have it, yeah. But a dado really is a groove or a channel cut into a piece of material. We've got a little image here, we go. Somewhere, yeah, here we go. We've got Ben on questions and cameras today, ladies and gentlemen. So if you got any questions, pop them on the chat like usual. And that's a groove or a dado. You can see how clean that is actually. We've got a little bit of splintering towards the exit, but not very much. And that was cut on this particular machine's 15mm wide groove and about 8mm deep into the material. Look how beautifully clean it is. And what produced that is a dado stack or a dado set. And it's a series of blades, almost like two regular saw blades that go either side of a series of groovers, a series of chippers that make up the width. This particular machine, a maximum of 18mm can be removed in any one go. I've got that particular stack is going to be set up at a 15mm because I've got some 15mm material to work with. Now have a little look at the blades themselves. On the one side there, you can see quite a sharp, pointy tooth. Now that's going to give you a really clean corner. We've got a kind of mirror image on the other side because you've got two saw blades that are handed, a right hand and left hand. You've got to make sure that these pointy teeth are right on the outside of the cut. So when they do produce a groove, you'll see from there, you can just see into the corners, you've got a little kind of nick in each corner. And that just ensures that that corner is completely cleaned out. It's like a little scriber. Those of you familiar with spindle molders and stuff like that, you've always got a little scribe cut on a spindle molder block, on a rebate block. And that's what it does. It just nicks out those corners, ensuring that if you're dropping a board in, the corner of that board isn't kind of holding off on the very corner of your cut. It's completely invisible. Let me get us an example for you. If we go over to camera 3 then, please. All right, so there we go. That's an example of some of the cuts. 2 of the cuts I'm going to be doing for you today. We've got a nice little corner rebate, 15mm by 8mm, and we've got a little groove there. Again, 15mm by 8mm. And we're going to drop our material into these sections. But most machines won't take the Dado blades. They won't take that stack for a couple of reasons, really. Some just don't have the power, the weight to drive that all those blades through the timber. Because most circular saws, most table saws are only going to cut 2.5 to 3 millimeters, 1 saw blade width. This one's got a handle, kind of 3, 4, 5 saw blades. So it's got to be substantial, it's got to be weighty. But importantly, a lot of them, as I said, don't have the right guarding available. But a lot of them, again, don't have the right shaft to take all those blades. So have a look at the shaft we've got on this particular machine. Right, so we can see it's thick, it's chunky, it's heavy, it's 30 millimeters all the way through, and it's quite long. So we can get a series of blades on there and have enough thread to tighten it all up. In comparison to a kind of a regular table saw, well, there we go. You can see the boss that the 30mm bore circular saw blade would sit on, and it drops down to what is the shaft, in effect, where the nut goes on. Not very much length. You're not going to get too many blades on, and unfortunately, it does drop down to that skinny, thin kind of shaft where the nut goes on. So very, very difficult, almost impossible to fit a number of saw blades on there. And it's important that you've got some weight and some solidity in the machine as well. We've certainly got the power on this. Just a little snapshot of some of the innards of this machine. There's a little bit. You can see that from a slightly different angle, that spindle, the shaft, and the inner flange that the blade sits against. But look at what's holding all that. It's all solid, all cast iron. And have a look at the upper part of that screen there. It's driven with 3 drive belts. So transition from motor to spindle to blade is extremely good. Really good positive grip and transition there. So you're not going to get any belt slip on that, no matter what. I'm certainly never had it on this. And I've used this an incredible amount. Right. Whew. Let's get over to the blades. That's the really important thing, the blades. I'm going to take the existing blade off, and then we'll stack up a series of blades, fit them up, and we'll do some cuts. We'll see if we can do some corner rebates, some shelf grooves, and see if we can knock together a quick cabinet in no time. So let's remove this. I'll pop that over there. This guard as well, for access, is great. Like I say, you've got the up and down thing, but if you want to swing it out of the way to access your blades, that's all we've got to do. I've got complete access there. Another nice thing is to isolate the machine. You've got a plug socket on the back of the machine, just in there. You can't quite see it here. Back of the machine, so I can just drop the plug out at source. I've got to walk across the room to unplug it. So nice and safe. So let me go and get my spanners and stuff to change blades. Put them up on the pillar here. Right. So one big spanner. Where are we? Can you see me? There we go. One big spanner. We've got a cranked spanner there as well. Nice and quick to change the blades. What we're going to do is just take the table insert out first. I like this table insert because it's red. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean red is my favourite colour. It just kind of tells me that is the danger zone, if you like. Don't get too close to that table insert with your fingers. We're going to wind the blade up to the max. You can see the smooth action on that blade. It's so easy. I'm not even in a good position to change that, but it's so easy and smooth to move. Wound it up to the max. What is nice as well, we've got a quick release riving knife change. I don't need a riving knife, as I said, when I'm cutting a groove. There's no complete severance cut, nothing to close on the back of the blade. Riving knife comes out. Quick release, lovely. Now to change the blade. Right, now the spanner I'm using is cranked. That's to bring your knuckles away from the blade itself. Just in case you over tighten or go the wrong way, you don't want to slip. Right. Left hand thread, so the nut is undone in the direction of the teeth face. Very carefully undoing this nut in here. Now, what is another nice thing about the table saw, this particular table saw, is if you do drop a nut, which I've done many times, taking table saws apart and changing blades and stuff, it's easy to access, to get that nut back, or even just to clean the machine out. If we can go over to main cam again, then just for a sec. Inside here is a really big cabinet door. If I did drop that nut, and I didn't need to do any cleaning or maintenance, really good access. Just lovely on a table saw. Right, so blade nut is off. Take the outer clamping flange off. Take the saw blade off. You can just about see that large kind of 30mm ball extra long thread there. What I'm going to do now, and what we've got to do, is just figure out what piece of material we're going to be working with. Because I set the Dado stack up to the piece of material I'm going to work with. I don't know, I'm working with this 15mm birch base ply. So that's going to be my reference. On the pillar here, you can see all my blades stacked up. Okay, I'm going to get 2 outer blades. I'm going to put one down first. Now that's going to be the last one that I put on. The first one down is going to be the last one that I put on. All right, so pop it on there. I'll get a series of chippers now. There's one. I'm making sure when I put them down, I'm not putting tungsten tip to tungsten tip. I'm just staggering like this, lining up the ball roughly. The ball's not important. Making sure all the plates are really clean as we go. All right, I'll get another one. Let's get another one over here. All right, and I'm going to stagger that like this. Again, making sure the plate's clean, because these are sitting plate to plate. That's why you've got to ensure that you haven't got any tip to tip contact. All right, I'll just stagger that like that. All right, I'm going to get the final circular saw blade. You can see how that's kind of stacking up now. We're getting some width of cut. The Dado blade, the final blade, which, like I said, looks like a kind of regular saw blade. Then that goes on. So, all right, now I've got a stack of saw blades. I've got one saw blade, another saw blade, and a series of groovers through the middle. This is where I bring the board in and see, is that there? That's what I'm looking for. All right. I think that's just right. If it isn't, you need to fine tune and tweak. Well, within the Dado stack, within the set of blades that you get these shims, little magnetic shims to fine tune. You pop those in between blades, go back and just double check things to ensure that you're getting the right size. And it's just as easy as that to set up the Dado stack. Do I need that shim or don't I need that shim? That's the question. I'm going to go no shim. See the magnetic, and I'll pick that blade up. Right, so I'm happy that I've got the stacks there. I know the amount that I want. That's an easy thing. Then I'll put the blades on. And the reason I stacked them in this order is the first blade off the pile is going to be the first blade I need to put on. Remember, they're handed. Oh, we've got a question. Fire away, Ben.
Okay, Greg. So just having a couple of problems with the microphones again. They're saying that it's a little bit echoey, but I think it's just the way it's set up on the computer. But going back to Terry's question, he's asking how long is the arbor, please? So sorry, I'm a bit behind.
Oh, that's okay. We're in good
yeah.
position because I can measure that. Let me get a rule. Hang on. Got a rule there. A rule. Yeah. I might have to do if I can get it in there. Let's have a look. Overall, we've got about 40 millimeters overall. Okay, so a little over 1.5 inches. All right. So we still got microphone issues? Are we okay?
Yeah, they can hear you. It's just a little bit echoey. I think it's picking up on here again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, guys. Well, I'm going to put my first blade on. Remember, they're handed. So the pointy tooth wants to be on the outside of the groove. I'm carefully going to put that on. All right. We can go overhead then. All right. So that blade is going on. Nice, carefully flat against that flange, and I always make sure that I clean the entire all contact surfaces. This one goes on. I'm not going to load on the entire stack all in one go. It goes on blade by blade, nice and carefully, making sure that we're staggering the teeth so we're plate to plate flat and we've not got any tip to tip contact. And then I'll put that other one on. So we've got in this particular stack to make up my 14 mil. I've got 3 chippers and the 2 main blades. 17 mil and 15 mil. And we have the other one on. Making sure you get it around the right way, correct? Very important. You see that the actual chippers themselves, they're not, we go over 3, my friends. There we go. The chippers themselves, they're not fine tooth, they're really quite coarse. There's only 4 teeth on them with a little anti-kickback finger. And it still leaves a good finish in the middle. The important thing is these outer blades clean that outer surface, that cut line edge. And this removes the material in the middle. So put him around the right way, slide in carefully into the shaft, stagger in as we go. I find staggering maybe just helps with balance. And not that I get a lot of vibration problems with this, but in my brain, it works. And what I'm being really careful as I slide that in, not to donk it on the table. So I potentially damage the carbide. I can easily knock a tungsten tip off by smacking it on a cast iron table. So there we are. We have our stack on. I'll put my clamping flange on. The blade nut goes on the right way. And then make sure that the nut is engaged and sat in the outer clamping flange correctly. Double checking everything. Everything's flat plate to plate. There's no tip to tip clash. And I keep saying it, but it's really important. Then I'll just tighten it up. And I'm going to tighten it up exactly the same way as I tighten the regular saw blade. Like that. The theory is you've got to go crazy tight with these things and make it so tight because you've got a lot of blades on there. You don't want them to come off. But don't worry, I've never experienced it, so you haven't got to go crazy tight. Let's move my spanners out of the way. Always going to clear your table saw top. Now, we've got a little issue because the thin slot in our regular table insert won't drop over the blades down. But don't worry about that because it comes with a much wider table insert, the perfect amount to take this Dado stack. Don't need the riving knife again, like I said, because we've not got a complete severance cut. That drops in. I already know that all this is nice and flush and flat. We've got little grub screws if we need it to adjust. All right. Get me a little nut back that holds my table insert secure. There's only one you've got to undo to do this. And there we go. It's as easy as that. That is a Dado stack in and done. With a good bit of chance. It doesn't take long, really, does it? I know I have done it a few times, so I know I've got 15 millimeters groove width there. I want to set the height now. How much into the material am I going to go? I'm going to go about halfway through the 15 mil, so about 7.5 mil, something like that. Now let's get a couple of little devices I can use to do this, yes, you can just hold a rule up, and sometimes it's just not that important. But if you do need to be precise, you can. All right. So that's one little thing that we use, just a square with a scale on it. All right. And I can drop that against the side of the stack and then wind it down to that point. And I'll do that. Do that by eye. I'm going to stand here, making sure I've got full kind of height on my blades by rotating. Remember, I've unplugged this. There's not a chance I'd be diving in with my hands touching these blades if it was still powered up. Right. One thing that, for me, looks about 7.5 millimeters to that scale. Okay, so that's that. Another device we can use. We go to, yeah, it's got a camera 3. It's a little digital height scale, kind of like a, a little digital height scale. What we could do is zero off on the table. So you can see that. Zero off on the table. In fact, bring it over to 3. I might see that. Yeah, that's it. So flat surface. 0. Coming back over to here, spanning the width of the blade, and then I'll lower that until I just tip the blade. How much is it? One blade. 7.5. I got 7. I think that'll do. You can get really precise with it, especially with this digital one. Right? 7's fine. So I'll drop those out of the way because I don't want them to impede my cut. So let's do a couple of example cuts for you. I think first I'm going to do a corner rebate. So a cut I want is this one. Little corner rebate. We're going to remove that first. So let's get my board and going to be cutting. So I've got 2 of these boards. Cut the size. I don't know, just over 600 long, I would think. I'm going to use a sliding carriage. I'm going to use a sliding carriage and the rip fence in conjunction with each other. First off, I'm going to bring my rip fence over till it just kisses the blade. Just touches that outer tooth on the blade. All right. I'll lock it off. That's it. And then I'm going to withdraw it. I'm going to take it back completely out of the way. All right. Put it right back. Lock it off. And this is going to be a reference point. I know that this edge now is dead in line with the outside of that cut. And I'm going to do a corner rebate. Put my safety specs on. I would normally wear my ears, but I can't kind of communicate very well. Turn my extraction on. Right. I'll lower the guard as low as I can get it. I'm going to use the rip fence as my stop. It's going to go against the stop and then slide on through the cut. Okay. I'm also going to move my flip stop just this way a little to give me a bit of extra support. What I don't want is to, when I'm cutting, that to potentially travel that way. I'm going to hold it fairly rigidly, but this stopping place is really going to help me out. So I don't get any movement away. Right? That's kind of locked in. Right. So make sure my board's away. You'll load it in, which is nice and easy because it's right by the. So smooth, so quiet. And then we'll just take some fence, slide on through. Now I always resist the temptation to drag it back towards them, to drag it back this way, just in case he catches. So I always take it on out to the back. So then go to camera 3, and there we have our corner rebate, which should be equal to the width of our board. That is flush. So making cabinets, boxes of any description is really quite easy, especially when you've got this kind of setup. What I can do now is just quickly continue. Pull like that, making sure I'm face down again, up against the fence, got that in piece of extra support. And then that's one. Got that there. Extra fence, extra support. And then back. We're making a bunch of cabinets. This is such a great way to do it. So that is 4 corner rebates cut in no time at all. Right, so if we go over to camera 2 there, then. Right, what we've got is 1 to each end, which will take our bolts. We'll drop in there. We've got the start of our cabinet. But what I want to do is put a shelf in as well. Put a little shelf. I won't quite go in the middle, I'll guesstimate it. You could go in the middle, of course, knock things up, but I'll just put a random shelf. I'm going to use the fence in the very same way. Just going to bring that over. Like I say, we're going random, so let's just pull that over there like that. Oh, got another question?
So Frederick's asking, he likes the look of the fence. Will it fit other saws?
You may be able to adapt it. I mean, it's quite a substantial fence. We don't actually sell it as a separate, or certainly don't list it as a separate. May be able to get it. But yeah, it is good fence. But we do a lovely upgrade fence along this sort of design, like a solid T. It's not all steel, but a good portion of it is aluminium, and it's super rigid. We do a number of upgrade fences. This particular one is it's special. All right. So I'm going to cut a groove now for a shelf. Now I want to make sure that's on the inside of my board. So I'm going to go same way down. Still going to use that, so we can kind of see where that shelf's going to be. Kind of quite high, but that works. We'll pull it over just a little bit more against the fence. Make sure the table's clear. And let's do. So this is cutting a shelf up. Right. There we go. There we go. Without a stopping place this time, but maybe just moves over both sides. There we go. Let's get started. You see that it's sat in that groove already. All goes on. Another good thing, the whole stop switch is really convenient in place. So quite often I'll come around and I'll just give you a little nudge with the knee. Alright? Very nice. Okay. Shelf groove and 2 corner rebates. No trouble at all. Now what I do with this to finish it really is just maybe glue and pin it. Let's pop that on there to start with. Hang on there, drops into position. Here we are. Pull that away. How quick is that to make a cabinet? It's not glued, so we've got a little bit of wobble on. But these corner rebates, the shelf grooves, you might want to put a series of shelves in to make a little box unit. But that's kind of, you know, the basics of the Dado saw. Removing that material to a particular width and particular depth to really create boxes. So let's just disassemble that before it falls over. There we go. That's one thing. Something else I use it for a little bit is maybe cutting tenons. Okay, we've got another question.
So it's a question from Frederick. Can you use the Dado stack on woods like MDF, chipboard and ply, or is it not safe?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, that's ply. Chipboard, yeah, of course. Chipboard can be a little bit loose and a little bit flaky. MDF, yeah, absolutely. Not a fan of using MDF. I kind of only use it if I have to. And any MDF will blunt any cutter far quicker than most other man-made boards. It's really surprisingly abrasive. But yeah, of course, go. So let's do a quick tenon on this as well. So I've got a piece of material that's scored, I don't know, about 40 millimeters. So I'm going to lift the blade up to, let's lift it up a little bit, 10 mil. Just how quick it can be to cut. Cut a tenon. How long do I want that tenon? Again, I can use my fence, can't I? As long as the fence is removed, so we'll go that kind of length there. Lock it up. Make sure we've withdrawn it. Okay. And then I can use that as a stop. Do my first cut, and then work my way back this way until I finish my cut. First cut. Just bring it back a little bit. Okay, flip it over, do exactly the same thing. So, up against the stop, do that first cut. Work your way down. Maybe not quite as equal and as proportionately correct as a tenon should be, but I'm sure you get the idea. But the important thing is, I think, that if we come over 3, it's really how clean that is. So, I know cheeks here are a little bit rough. That's that kind of scribing to that pointy point. That doesn't matter because that sits inside the important shoulders here. How clean are those? Try and get as close as I can without blurring out. So quick and easy. The data, that's kind of what it is, kind of what it does. As well as being a kind of good, regular table sort of, well, turn the extraction off, just in case that's affecting the audio. Clean as well. Grooves for cabinets. I mean, I've got an abundance of cabinets in here that I made on this very saw when we redid the workshops, which I'm kind of interested to show you. Actually, maybe in a few weeks I'll do a little workshop tour, and we're going to have a good look around at all my kit and how I've got it laid out, and you can ask questions about that sort of stuff. So if you want to see kind of my full workshop, the full extent, which is a good size and I think it's quite well laid out, let me know in the comments. So one kind of thing I want to show you, I just want to have a look at the router table setup on this, because it's remarkable, really. I know a lot of people have done it in the past, and I've certainly done it on table saws. Sometimes the right-hand extension table is a piece of pressed steel, which is just an infill panel in effect. If you put a support panels, yeah, great. You kind of, what I've done before is change that panel to a nice substantial piece of MDF or ply and made my own router table. This is cast iron pre-done for you, and the table saw itself, if you don't buy the the router table thing to start with as part of the whole package, it does actually come with this table insert in there. It's ready done. The hole is machined, the slots are machined. It comes with that. So if you do down the line decide to do that, all you got to do is buy this lovely UJK router table fence, which I'm going to bring into shot now for you. There we are. There it is. It's a really good, chunky, solid fence. UJK orange, of course. Extraction on the back, and I'll show you something a little bit special with the extraction in a moment. Substantial aluminium lock levers, lock knobs. But it really is quick and easy to fit. Almost kind of standard type micro fence lock. Centralized lock, ready to route. I know you're going to put a cutter in that, but you get my little tool, and I will just show you. Might be able to put it right there. You can kind of see there in there. There's my router cutter ready to go. And so I've got the DeWalt router underneath the fine height adjuster. I've been using this a little bit this week. A nice little thing is if we go to main shop, this as a stand, big long extraction pipe with this pipe that comes up to the guard. This pipe will come off and then fit onto your router table. Extraction is right there. There's nothing special. You don't need to get a little Bosch vac underneath or a DeWalt vac underneath to do that. It's all here. So really from there to there, they're the same size. Drops on there so easily. Waste clearance is good as well. Waste clearance is very good. Okay. Well, I think that's about all we've got time for today. Hopefully you found that useful. If you have any questions, you kind of know where to contact us. Woodworking Wisdom at axminstertools.com. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't, and please share. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.